Hi and welcome. Today I'm going to be running over how your brain affects your gut and how your gut affects your mood, and how they're all intertied together. How often do we refer to our gut when we're talking about feelings? You know, you have a gut feeling, a sinking in the pit of your stomach, butterflies in your stomach. Those times you're really stressed and you get upset tummies or bloating or those sorts of things. This is your brain and your gut being connected. Your brain can drive your gut, it can affect your gut. If you're stressed or anxious, it can affect the production of stomach acid, and it can even eventually cause things like reflux and ulcers. But actually, we might have this a little bit backwards. We understand the whole brain affecting the gut thing, but the new interesting research is about your gut affecting your brain. They did a study on over 12 years in Sydney, Australia, and found that about 50% of people with chronic gut issues were actually anxious first and then developed their gut problems. However, the other 50% had the gut issues first and the anxiety came after. Your gut microbiome, which is the bacteria and the viruses and the pathogens and the yeasts and all of those sorts of things that live in your gut, and they're quite a unique combination. Every single person has a different combination, and they can be beneficial and they can be not beneficial, and they coat the entire lining of your digestive tract, all the way from your mouth all the way through to your bum. And these microbiome actually interact and communicate with your nervous system through certain pathways, and these include your immune system, and they help keep them in check. Studies have shown that an imbalance in your microbiome can affect your brain's chemistry and in some cases cause anxiety and depression. New evidence is also showing that when your gut is inflamed, it might affect your brain and lead to psychological dysfunction. So this is all leading into this new realm of understanding and treating depression, because we've always been told that when you're depressed, you've run out of serotonin, right? That happy juice, you've just run out. And to fix it, you need to have that little pill that will slow down your body's dissolving of the serotonin. So you get these things called serotonin selective reuptake inhibitors, so things like Prozac, that will just naturally raise those levels of serotonin in your brain. However, new science is actually showing that this destiny is not a genetic thing. It's not something you inherited, and instead we're finding that depression is actually often a symptom of this chronic inflammation. And how have we become so inflamed? We're all at risk for this chronic silent inflammation that happens because we're just living in a time where this modern lifestyle creates these incompatibilities between what our genes are expecting from us and what our world expects from us. We're eating foods that are processed beyond recognition. We're sitting inside offices and cars most of the day. We're exposed to all these modern chemicals and lighting and constant stress. And inflammation at the core is a result of all of these conflicts. Science is showing that this chronic inflammation is at the heart of almost every disease. Inflammation is linked from anything from metabolic disorders like obesity and diabetes, to heart disease, infertility, low sperm counts, polycystic ovaries, neurodegenerative diseases, and cancer. Your gut's microbiome produces more serotonin, along with about 30 other neurotransmitters, than your brain does. So about 95% of your serotonin receptors are actually found in the gut itself. And then you can sort of start to see why your gut is so central to your brain being happy. High inflammatory markers, so if you get a blood test and they test your C-reactive protein, if your C-reactive protein is high, it's actually quite strongly linked to depression and anxiety. Inflammation is often felt as pain, swelling, or heat if you get it on the outside. But because your brain doesn't actually have pain receptors, it's difficult to know when your brain is inflamed. So researchers have been looking into it, doing blood tests with this C-reactive protein. And they're finding that inflammation markers are substantially higher in people that are depressed. So heal your gut and heal your brain. Considering the function and role of our gut, it does make sense that most of our immune system is actually located in the gut. You think about it, most of the external stuff that we put in our body goes through our mouths, right? When a potential threat is sensed in the gut, it's a far-reaching systemic inflammation happens because it's so important to your whole body, right? Inflammation can travel quite quickly from your gut to your brain through that vagus nerve. It's the same nerve that will make you feel lightheaded and sick at the same time, or if you're stressed you feel sick. It's that nerve. It's a big bundle of nerves that runs from your brain straight to your gut. It's the longest nerve that comes out of your brain in one single stretch, and it's connected to several parts of your gut, your stomach, your intestines, and other sort of organs involved with digestion. So while it's best to manage stresses and reduce your stress stress-related symptoms, one of the most direct and quick ways to calm that vagus nerve is actually through dietary change. Just as emotions send messages to your gut, food sends messages to your brain. How does food make this inflammation? There's lots of drivers that will lead to anxiety or depression symptoms, but eating high processed food sets off these gut alarm systems, and our bodies do not recognize these things as food, but the chemicals in sugar do create this activation of your immune system, triggering that body-wide inflammation. Consuming processed, poor nutrient foods and some medications can completely change your gut microbiome. These alterations in your gut can cause what's called intestinal permeability or leaky gut, where when things are inflamed, your body will naturally open up the cells to let fluid in and out. This is to let your white blood cells to come through and clean up whatever is causing the inflammation. But at the same time, some of your proteins from your food can leak back into your blood system, which of course triggers your immune system even more, and they create cells to attack those. You get antibodies against some of these food proteins because your body's right, they shouldn't be in your blood system. And suddenly you're reacting to your glutens, you're reacting to your dairy. Sometimes there's types of meat that people can't have because they've snuck back. When you've been really inflamed, they've snuck back into that blood system, and your body is now genuinely reacting to it. So how can you reduce your inflammation and therefore cure this anxiety and depression? One is to reduce your toxic load. Try and eat organic food if you can. I know it's not always affordable, unfortunately, but try and go for natural products on your skin, all those sorts of things. Try and just reduce the amount of toxins you're coming across in your life. And along with that, lower your inflammation. One of the places to start with that is to sort of shift back to a more nutrient-dense, anti-inflammatory sort of diet. Lots of omega-3s and antioxidants are really nice anti-inflammatory sort of foods. Freshly ground flaxseed oil has got quite a bit of omega-3s in it as well, or a good quality fish oil supplement. Eat real food and real butter. Lots of butter. Butter's good. Quit eating sugar. Sugar is one of the worst things that you can be eating. It leads to the production of neurotoxins. And these things cause fatigue and mental fog and mood swings and headaches, problems with your memory and inability to focus, food cravings, depression, anxiety. And sugar is the cause of all of these. And sugar is chemically addictive. They did CT scans, of people when they were eating sugar and people that were having cocaine, and the same areas of your brain light up. It is that addictive. And I would know, I've been there, and it took a long time to break that addiction. It is hard, but it is worth it. By golly, is it worth it. Step number 4 to getting rid of this inflammation is to eat those right foods. Eating lots of plant foods, healthy fats, and lots of omega-3s try and throw in some probiotics as well, kimchi, sauerkraut, or if you have to, even a tablet, you know, something with some probiotics to support those gut microbiome. Number 5, reduce your stress. The only thing that we have worked out that will swap your body from being in that high stress, flight or fight state to the rest and digest state that your body should be in 90% of the time is actually by extending your out breath. Weird, right? So deep breathing is the one thing that they have found that will swap your body over. So you can do this meditation or yoga, or literally just every time you stop at lights, do 20 really big deep breaths and just help that body get into the rhythm of turning off that inflammation, turning off that agitation. Counseling's another one. If you have issues that this anxiety and depression are tied to, talking through it with a professional is a really good idea. Improve your sleep. Sleep is a big thing. Turn off your screens a couple of hours before you go to bed. Make sure your room's not too hot. Try to go to bed at the same time every day, and try and get 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. You know, those typical sort of sleep hygiene sort of things. The number 7 would be to heal your gut. There are a few different supplements you can take. 5-HTP is a really good one, and obviously some probiotics as well. And number 8 is employ nutritional ketosis. Nutritional ketosis is when your blood ketone levels are between 1 and 5 millimoles. And this is a really non-inflammatory state to be in. Ketones reduce inflammation. They're very soothing on the gut, which is why a lot of people that start doing the ketogenic diet find that their anxiety and their depression, they just go away because they're no longer that inflamed mess, basically. How the ketogenic diet, it helps your gut. It makes it easier to feed your microbiome. If you get that sugar out of your life, all the candida and the sugar-loving bacteria that aren't doing you any favors, they go away. They reduce right down. And your good bacteria, the ones that make you feel good, can grow. It starves out those bad bacteria. And yes, the ketones themselves actually protect your gut lining. Your body does produce some beta-oxybutyrate, which is one of the types of ketones that it uses just in your gut to just help soothe and heal your gut. And they found people with irritable bowel syndrome have really low levels of those beta-hydroxybutirates. So adopting a ketogenic diet will naturally improve those and help soothe your gut. The keto diet encourages microbial diversity. It encourages all the good bugs to keep growing, and it also removes most of those sort of common threats to your microbiome. It gets rid of many pesticides, all your GMO foods. Most of your antibiotics are in foods. It cuts out those highly inflammatory things like grains and seeds. Oh, not all seeds, but those grains that, like wheat in particular, that cause that inflammation. It just sort of naturally cuts a lot of those things out. So anxiety and depression, they're plaguing our nation. And it is possible that it's something as simple as changing our dietary guidelines. They may well save at least 50% of these sufferers without having to resort to medication. I'm not saying medication is bad, but actually often it's not treating the underlying cause. It fixes the symptoms, but it doesn't fix the cause. If you're struggling with anxiety and depression, or one or the other, if you'd like to give keto a go, I'd really recommend it. Even if you do it for 6 to 8 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks in your whole life is nothing, but it might completely change your life. And yeah, I really do recommend you give it a go. If you know of anyone that would benefit from these videos, please share them.